There is something inherently satisfying about starting with an empty lot and watching it transform into something massive. A city, a factory, an entire civilization built from the ground up. That sense of control, placing every road and every building exactly where you want it, that's what brings me back to this genre every time. Best of all, you don't have to wait for new releases to have a good time. Some of the best construction games are already available, and many people haven't even touched them yet. So in this video, I've brought 10 construction simulators that are worth playing right now in 2026. Starting the list with RoadCraft, a game that fills a specific niche in the simulation market. Developed by Saber Interactive, the same team behind MudRunner and SnowRunner. This simulator puts you in charge of a company specializing in rebuilding regions devastated by natural disasters, whether it's floods, sandstorms, or other catastrophes. The mission is clear. Take that chaos and restore functioning roads, bridges, and infrastructure. It sounds simple on paper, but in practice, it is much deeper. What really stands out here is the variety of equipment at your disposal. There are over 40 vehicles, each with a specific function: excavators for moving earth, cranes for repositioning structures, heavy cargo trucks, pavers, steamrollers, and more. Regarding physics, you can feel the weight of every machine. The soil yields under the tires, pistons move with precision, the suspension reacts to the terrain, and even the engine sound shifts depending on the load you're carrying. Each vehicle feels like it was pulled from a real heavy machinery catalog. This attention to detail keeps you engaged for hours. The strategic side of RoadCraft is where things get even more interesting. You aren't just behind the wheel, you also need to plot logistics routes on the map, program automated convoys to transport materials while you handle other tasks, and recycle debris scattered across the environment to turn it into construction material. There are 8 massive maps, each spanning 1.5 square miles across different biomes, from tropical regions to swamps and mountains, each with its own terrain challenges and structures like abandoned factories and submerged dams. If you want to play with friends, the co-op mode supports up to 4 players simultaneously, which makes the experience more dynamic and chaotic, in a good way. Honestly, the game has its moments of frustration. The AI for automated vehicles sometimes makes questionable choices, and some bugs still appear here and there. However, none of that ruins the experience. RoadCraft is the type of simulator that demands the same from you as it does from the characters within it: calm, patience, and strategy. If you enjoy the feeling of taking something from zero and making it functional, brick by brick, asphalt by asphalt, this game deserves a spot in your library. If you're the type of person who opens Minecraft, ignores all the enemies, and just wants to build something beautiful, Builder Simulator was made for you. Developed by Live Motion Games and released on PC in June 2022, the game later arrived for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch in April 2024, and more recently received VR support. The premise is simple but satisfying. You build a house from absolute zero, brick by brick, cement by cement. There are no shortcuts or magic. You actually design it, buy materials, mix concrete, and raise walls with your own virtual hands. What stands out immediately is the number of real-world steps the game replicates. You start by drawing the house plan on a drafting board, defining dimensions, and choosing the layout before heading to the construction site. It features mechanics for mixing cement, laying foundations, block placement with leveling, and window and door installation, all with precision mini-games that make you feel like missing by a millimeter might compromise the structure. The game has 2 main modes: contract mode, where you follow real contracts without skipping steps, and sandbox mode, with infinite money and more creative freedom, including an auto-complete option for steps you've already mastered. The difficulty curve is also interesting. On easy mode, the game guides you with detailed instructions, perfect for beginners. On hard mode, you are on your own, relying solely on the knowledge you've accumulated. This completely shifts the vibe of the game. What starts as a casual experience becomes a challenge when you have to remember the correct sequence of every construction process. This layer of progression keeps the game from feeling shallow after the first few hours. Of course, it's not all glory. There are points where repetition hits hard, especially during large-scale block placement, which can get tedious depending on your project. The absence of plumbing and electrical wiring systems is also a missed opportunity, as they would be natural additions for a simulator with this level of detail. But if you can accept these limitations and enter with the mindset of experiencing life as a builder from the sketch to the final coat of paint, Builder Simulator delivers. It also has a community mode where you can share projects and build from other players' plans, adding a nice social layer. Construction Simulator 2022 puts you in the role of a construction company owner. You start from zero with the help of your mentor, Hape, and grow contract by contract until you're a reference in the city. Developed by Weltenbauer and published by Astragon Entertainment, the game was released in September 2022 for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, and has since become one of the most solid references in the genre. The setting is one of the most surprising aspects. You have two completely different maps to explore, a German countryside full of hills, rivers, and renewable energy projects, and an American port city called Sunny Haven that needs revitalization. Each map has its own independent campaign with over 90 contracts in total. And it's not just a scenery swap. Mission types, challenges, and clients actually change depending on your location. Now, the real show stealer is the fleet. There are over 70 vehicles and heavy equipment from real licensed brands, Caterpillar, Case, Bell, DAF, Doosan, and each machine has its own handling and learning curve. Operating an excavator is entirely different from operating a concrete mixer or a crane, and the game features tutorials that teach this clearly. If you want to bring friends along, there's an online co-op mode for up to 4 players with voice chat and cross-platform support. It's worth noting that the game has its tedious moments. Walking across the map is slow because of the distances, and controlling machines in tight spaces can be clunky depending on the situation. The character physics outside of vehicles also have that strange simulator gait that is almost a genre tradition. But if you enter Construction Simulator wanting to live the fantasy of operating heavy machinery and building a company from nothing, the game fulfills that goal better than most. House Builder is the kind of game that catches you off guard. You go in thinking it's just a relaxing simulator, but then find yourself completely absorbed trying to build an African mud hut with architectural precision. Developed by FreeMind, this game casts you as a one-man construction crew traveling the world to erect structures ranging from simple to incredibly complex. The approach is genuinely different from what you usually see. You actually experience every stage of the construction process. It's not just a click and finish deal. I find it interesting how the game respects the real building process. You don't just place walls, you have to prepare the ground, deal with foundations, and work with materials and techniques specific to each region. The more you build, the more skills you unlock, and the more advanced technologies become available to speed up your work. This creates a genuine sense of progression. The pace is slow, almost meditative, which is actually its strong point. The true magic of House Builder lies in the cultural and environmental variety. You build everything from Arctic igloos to Canadian houses, Siberian log cabins, and structures in scorching or freezing climates. Each region forces you to adapt your techniques and understand how local architecture works. There are even unique challenges, like being aware of dangerous wildlife in certain areas. This educational experience mixed with pure creativity makes each new project a discovery. What makes House Builder addictive is the balance between structure and creative freedom. You follow missions and learn progressively, but your imagination is in charge when you're actually building. The detailed graphics and well-thought-out progression system keep you motivated. If you love construction simulators and want an experience that blends education with genuine entertainment, House Builder is essential. ContractVille blends construction, demolition, decoration, and business progression in an open world, allowing you to start from scratch and grow into running your own major operation, which feels more comprehensive than the genre average. What stands out is how it seeks to deliver the full contractor life fantasy, not just the aesthetic decoration part. In ContractVille, you can tear down walls, design layouts, build the house, and handle the landscaping while taking on contracts to expand your company. It also includes a 4-player co-op option, which is great for those who enjoy turning heavy labor into shared fun. Personally, I think the game is interesting because of that addictive simulator progression, where you start with few resources and feel every completed job pushing your career forward. That sense of evolution, combined with the level of detail in steps like raising walls and working with concrete, is exactly what a simulation fan looks for. At the same time, ContractVille feels like an ambitious game. The kind that has great ideas and plenty of content, but might have some rough edges depending on the version and optimization state. Still, for those who love construction simulators with creative freedom multiplayer and a professional growth arc, it's clearly a title worth checking out. Construction Simulator 2015 is the classic and definitive starting point for anyone who truly wants to feel what it's like to operate an entire fleet of heavy machinery. What's impressive here isn't just the task of building, but the fidelity of taking 15 or 16 licensed vehicles from major brands like MAN and Liebherr and replicating the weight and difficulty of each. This isn't a game where you click and a wall appears. Here, you feel the resistance of the earth while excavating and the extreme care required to use a crane without dropping a beam in the wrong place. The biggest highlight is the focus on control realism. If you want something casual, you can use arcade controls, but if you're brave enough for professional mode, you'll face the real SAE systems using 2 joysticks to control excavators authentically. This provides the sense of hard work that simulation purists seek. The engine sounds were also recorded from original machines, so when you're leveling ground or operating a giant concrete pump, the auditory immersion makes you feel like you're on a real site. Another striking feature is the scale. The game doesn't lock you into small mission plots. It has a large open world with several cities and a highway. This means you literally have to drive your trucks and flatbeds from your company yard to the site. This changes the game's rhythm. Going to City Hall for bigger bids, visiting suppliers to test new earth-moving machines, and managing your money while expanding headquarters makes the game a rewarding continuous experience. But what seals the deal for CS 2015 as an essential title is the multiplayer. You don't have to do the 200+ construction stages alone. Bringing 3 friends together to organize a construction line where one excavates, another transports the earth, and a third prepares the site for concrete is chaotic, fun, and incredibly satisfying. If you want to understand why so many people stay up all night just to finish a virtual building's foundation, this is the game to try. If you love construction simulators, but always wondered what the opposite side would be like, destroying everything, then Deconstruction Simulator was made for you. Released on September 23rd, 2025, by Games Incubator in partnership with Playway, this game casts you as a demolition contractor with total freedom to handle each contract. That freedom is real. You decide whether to dismantle everything with precision, piece by piece, or simply swing a wrecking ball and watch it all collapse gloriously. The physics are what caught my attention here. Every structure was modeled with impressive detail, so when you break walls, remove tiles, or detonate a concrete foundation, everything reacts organically. You start with simple tools like hammers and screwdrivers and unlock heavy equipment, cranes, excavators, the wrecking ball, as you gain experience. It's that satisfying sense of progression that most simulators aim for, and it works well here. But don't think it's just mindless destruction. There's a business management layer that adds depth. You need to salvage materials from demolitions, sell what's valuable, recycle the rest, and use that money to expand your company, buying better vehicles, expanding your warehouse, and hiring staff. An interesting part, the game allows you to make ethical or unethical decisions, which directly affects your company's reputation and the contracts you secure in the future. This adds weight to your choices. There are over 40 unique contracts, each with its own challenges, and you unlock higher-level demolition licenses as you progress, opening access to more complex, higher-paying jobs. If you enjoy management simulators mixed with satisfying physical destruction, this deserves a spot in your library. I had to mention this game because it blends two things that rarely appear together in a construction simulator: real historical architecture and a narrative that hooks you from the first hour. Chinese Frontiers, developed by Solid Games, a Polish studio made up of architects and designers, and published by Big Cheese Studio, was released in June 2025 on PC via Steam. The premise is starting as a simple villager tasked with the monumental mission of building the Great Wall of China. The game takes this seriously. Every structure you build has a real architectural basis, as much of the dev team studied architecture before entering game development. I particularly liked the variety of environments. There are 3 distinct biomes: majestic mountains, arid deserts, and tranquil river valleys, each with its own resources, challenges, and well-constructed visual aesthetic. You aren't stuck in one setting. The game sends you to different regions as the story progresses, keeping things fresh. Village management is where the game shows its depth. You don't build alone, you delegate tasks to NPCs, develop production chains, build workshops, unlock advanced technologies, and transform that initial small village into a hub that supports a project the size of the Great Wall. The progression system unlocks new tools, blueprints, and techniques as you advance, and there's even an imperial favor system that measures the emperor's satisfaction with your work. This creates interesting pressure. You aren't just building for yourself, you're building a legacy within the narrative. The game also integrates survival and crafting elements, meaning you have to manage resources, adapt to seasons, handle disasters, and respond to political events. It's a layer of complexity that prevents the game from becoming a mechanical routine. You can follow story blueprints or create your own constructions freely in a sandbox style. If you're a fan of games like Valheim or Manor Lords but wanted that set in ancient China, Chinese Frontiers is what you've been looking for. Have you ever thought about taking an abandoned, bankrupt motel and turning it into a place people actually want to stay? That's exactly what Sunset Motel from FQ Studios offers. You inherit a completely destroyed property with no charm and no guests. Your task is clear: renovate everything from scratch, room by room, until you turn it into a respectable motel, or even a true tourist destination. What differentiates this from other construction simulators is the intimate scope. You aren't building cities or commanding hundreds of workers. The focus is micro, choosing every decoration item, planning room layouts, managing the front desk, dealing with guests, and keeping the structure running during renovations. This smaller scale creates a different connection to the space. Each renovated room feels like a real achievement because you saw it up close, from the floor to the paint. There's also a management side. Guests arrive with expectations, and the quality of your work impacts the motel's reputation, cash flow, and future upgrades. As the business grows, new features and customization options open up. It's the kind of game that makes you say, just one more room, until an hour has passed. Of course, if you expect the epic scale of Construction Simulator or the systemic depth of Manor Lords, Sunset Motel will feel too contained. But that's not the point. The game embraces a calm pace, attention to detail, and the satisfaction of building something personal, all with a distinct visual personality, that 70s American roadside aesthetic. If you want a construction simulator that doesn't overwhelm, but still delivers that good feeling of transformation, this one deserves a look. Before the 2022 construction simulator everyone talks about, there was a game already doing it all with great competence that is still worth playing today. Construction Simulator 3, released in 2019 by Astragon Entertainment, was the franchise's turning point. The moment it stopped feeling like a niche curiosity and started being taken seriously as one of the best simulators on the market. The campaign is set in the fictional city of Westside Plains, where you start with a small company and grow contract by contract. The scale progression works very well here. You start with smaller jobs like sidewalk paving and small foundations, and take on increasingly complex projects as your business expands. There are over 60 vehicles and equipment from licensed brands like Caterpillar, Liebherr, and MAN, and each machine has its own weight and behavior. Operating a massive crane in a city center project is entirely different from using a compact excavator on a residential site. What this game gets particularly right is the balance between management and operation. You need to buy and maintain your fleet, hire staff, manage finances, and plan contracts without compromising cash flow. Yet the game never takes you away from the site. You still operate the machines manually whenever you want. The co-op multiplayer mode is also here, allowing you to invite friends to share the workload and the inevitable chaos. It has obvious limitations compared to what came later. The map is smaller and customization is more restricted. But CS3 does one thing better than many in the genre. It's direct. No excesses, no systems that need a tutorial for the tutorial. You go in, take a contract, start the machine, and get to work. For anyone wanting to know where to start in the franchise, or who just wants a solid, no-frills construction simulator, Construction Simulator 3 remains a respectable choice.